Rock Planning Commission meeting. And let's start with calling the roll, please.
Chairman LaTour,
Here.
Vice Chair Stebbins, Commissioner Berry,
Here.
Commissioner Brock,
Here.
Commissioner Bynum,
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Here.
Commissioner Haynes,
Here.
Commissioner May,
Here.
Commissioner Rahman,
Here.
Commissioner Thomas,
Here.
Commissioner Vogel.
Here.
Yeah, 10 present. You do have a quorum.
And you've been given a copy of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? So moved. All in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed? I know a lot of you are here for one of the major issues out on Arch Street. I think the attorney for that has a special request, and I think it would benefit everybody to consider that request first so that the mass of you can probably go about your business. So if that's agreeable, I'd like to call Mr. Giles to come talk about item 5.
Item 5. Chairman LaTour, members of the commission, I'm Stephen Giles, agent of the applicant for item number 5. And we respectfully request a deferral. I've had some knee operation, and it's been real hard for me to get out and work this thing as much as I wanted to with the applicant. And so we request a deferral. And also, we've learned the last few days there's quite a bit of concern about what's going on. I think there's been some misinformation, and we would respectfully request a little more time to see if we can work out answers and responses.
All right, commissioners, because, as a matter of note, because it falls within the short-term period, it has to be approved or not approved by the Planning Commission. So to that end, I'd entertain a motion to defer this item.
I motion that this item be deferred.
Okay, there's a motion to defer the item. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion, a second, that it be deferred. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed? So no deferral with that. We'll maintain a place on the regular agenda.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
And I neglected to officially call us to order. That'll make the guy on the recording booth really happy. Okay, consent agenda, staff.
Mr. Chairman, before I read the consent agenda, can you confirm for me what items you have cards on?
I have cards on item S 1836. Which, the one up, that's the apartments on Chenal.
Okay, so that's item 1.
Yes. I have, I have cards on Z 9352, which would be,
That's item A.
I have cards on, did I already say 1838?
I'm sorry, which item was that?
That's the Leander. I have 2 cards on the Leander project.
1838.
Yeah, S 1838.
And I have cards on item 5. lot of cards on item 8.
Okay. So we have cards on item 1, which is the Hampton Astoria Apartments on Chenal Valley Drive. Item A, 4616 Asher Avenue, PCD. Item 3, S 1838, The Ridge at Little Rock, preliminary plat and site plan review. Item 5, which is the Sky Bar Private Club, and item 8, which is Union Rescue Mission.
That's correct.
Okay, so we'll read the consent agenda, less those 5 items. Consent agenda for the January 31st, 2019 meeting of the Little Rock Planning Commission consists of the following items. We have one item on consent withdrawal, that's item B, file Z 4470-L, the Lot 3 Chenal Park Center short form PCD located at 15112 Chenal Parkway on December 17th, 2018. The applicant requested withdrawal of this item. Staff recommends approval of the withdrawal request without prejudice. We have 2 items on consent deferral. Item D, file Z 6488-C, KLR Properties revised short form PCD located at 12400 Cantrell Road. The applicant did not complete the notice requirement. Staff recommends deferral of the item to the March 14th, 2019 meeting. And item C, file Z 5534-C, University and R Street, short form PCD, located on the northwest corner of University Avenue and R Street. The applicant did not complete the notice requirement. The applicant did meet with the Heights neighborhood Monday night, and knowing that they did not send their notices, staff recommends approval of deferring the item to the March 14th, 2019 meeting. On consent approval, we have item 2, file S 1837, LaMarche Village preliminary plat located on the southeast corner of Taylor Loop Road and LaMarche Drive. Staff recommends approval of the proposed preliminary plat subject to compliance with the following conditions. First being compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the agenda staff report. Compliance with the following additional comments and conditions from Public Works. First being the alley is to be constructed with concrete aprons. The plat is to show no parking within the public alley, along with signage installed in conformance with section 30-5. A note on the plat and language in the bill of assurance is to show the maintenance of the public alley and the detention pond are the responsibility of the Property Owners Association, and fees or dues are to be collected for that maintenance. The portion of the alley to the south of lots 13 through 15 and the 16-space common parking areas are to be shown as private access easements. The bill of assurance should show all trash receptacles, including receptacles from lots 13 through 15, are to be taken to the west side of the alley for collection. Staff recommends approval of the following variances. The first being a variance from the land alteration ordinance to allow advanced grading of future phases with construction of phase 1, which includes the alley, and driveway spacing variances from section 31-210 to allow driveways on a collector street to be closer than 125 feet from the side property line and closer than 250 feet from an intersecting street. Also on consent approval, item number 4, file Z 3396-B, Romero's Enterprises revised PID located at 12300, 12310, 12320, and 12340 Chico Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested revised PID subject to compliance with the following conditions. First being compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F of the staff analysis and the staff analysis in the agenda staff report. No auto paint or body shop is allowed. The dumpster is to be screened to comply with code standards, and dumpster service hours are to be limited to 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. All uses are to be conducted entirely within the enclosed buildings. Also on consent agenda, item number 6, consent approval, file Z8445-B, Medical Hearing Associates of Arkansas revised short form PDO located at 5910 C Street. Staff recommends approval of the request subject to compliance with the following conditions. First being compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F, and the staff analysis in the agenda staff report. A franchise must be obtained for the parking in the right-of-way, and the single gravel parking space must be bordered in a manner to contain the gravel and must be maintained in a manner that does not result in the creation of dust, mud, silt, or standing water. Item number 7, file Z9120-A, Rebel Kettle, revised short form PCD, located at 822 East 6th Street. Staff recommends approval of the application subject to compliance with the staff comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F, and the staff analysis in the agenda staff report. Item 9, file Z9384, Wilson, short form PDR, located at 425 Colonial Court and 498 Ridgeway. Staff recommends approval of the PDR subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F, and the staff analysis in the agenda staff report. Item 10, file S200-S, Watershed Point, preliminary plat time extension, located north of the Cantrell Road Chenal Parkway intersection on the Divide Parkway. Staff recommends approval of the requested one-year time extension, subject to compliance with all comments, conditions, and approvals from the initial February 2nd, 2017 preliminary plat approval. And the final item on consent approval is item 11, file Z8851-A, Pleasant Ridge West Lot 3C, revised short form PDC time extension, located at 11701 Pleasant Ridge Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested 2-year time extension, subject to compliance with all comments, conditions, and approvals from the initial April 19th, 2016 PDC approval. That concludes the consent agenda.
Is there a motion for approval on consent agenda?
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda as read, except for the exceptions that were listed.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Those opposed? The consent agenda. Staff, which order do we take with all the changes?
Okay, if the chair will allow us, we'd like to take item 5 first.
Okay, item 5, the Sky Bar.
Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board, good evening. My name is Linda Pondexter Chesterfield, and it is my honor to serve as the senator for that area of the city of the county. But I am also a resident of England Acres, the area next to which the sexually oriented business is to be placed. And I'd like for all of those individuals in the communities that will be affected by it to please stand.
Chair,
Mr. Chair,
we need
Sit
to
up.
follow our procedures.
could we ask for a reading from the staff and go to protocol for the reading this item?
Yes, Senator Chesterfield, if you'll hang on, we'll come
Certainly.
right back. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Item 5. Staff.
Item number 5, file number Z6535-A, Sky Bar Private Club, short form PDC, located at 10305 Arch Street Pike. Property is currently zoned C3, General Commercial. The applicant states that he plans to build a two-story structure at the south end of the property consisting of approximately 7,000 square feet. The owners will use the building named Sky Bar as a private club, restaurant, and bar with areas devoted to the sale of branded merchandise such as T-shirts, hats, and other items promoting the business, not including adult toys, novelties, magazines, or videos. In addition, there will be an area containing electronic games, pool tables, TVs, etc. for customers' enjoyment. Total seating on the two levels will be for about 150 patrons. The kitchen will prepare food to be served on both floors. Alcoholic beverages will be served from the bars on the first and second floors. As a secondary amenity for customers' entertainment, each level will have a runway elevated above the floor, where female entertainers will occasionally dance in a burlesque fashion to music from a house sound system. The owners state that the conduct and attire of staff and entertainers will be similar to that of Twin Peaks and Hooters restaurants and in compliance with state ABC liquor license regulations and applicable city ordinances. The hours will be 11 a.m. to 5 a.m., 7 days a week. Staff does have concerns with placement of the private club. The general guidelines for placement of a private club, and these are in the conditional use permit section of the code, state private clubs aren't to be located within 750 feet of any single family use. Measurements are to be made in a straight line without regard for intervening structures from the nearest portion of the building proposed for occupancy of a private club to the nearest property line of a residential use. In this case, the private club is located approximately 290 feet from the nearest residential property. The planned development process does allow for an exception to be made from that prohibition. The parking lot and driveway for the club are as close as 120 feet. Staff feels the activities and late hours of the operation could have a negative effect on the residents. Staff does recommend denial of the application.
I love the staff.
Not yet. Now, our rules, each side will have 20 minutes, no more, but 20 minutes maximum to state your case. The applicant normally goes first. Normally applicant goes first, but the applicant has the option of waiting to hear what the opposition is going to say. So would you like to speak first, or would you like to hear what they have to say?
I'll wait.
Okay. Senator Chesterfield, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and from the description, you now know why we don't want it in our community. So I'm not gonna spend a long time, but we have taken this to the city board. We have taken it to the quorum court. We have prevailed. We are a quiet community. We love where we live, and we do not want the noise, and we do not want the distraction of a sexually oriented business in our community. It is not good for our property value. It is not good for our children. The location, we feel, has been zoned properly, and the Pulaski County Quorum Court, as a matter of fact, issued a resolution in 12/21/17 in opposition. We have a letter from the sheriff of Pulaski County in opposition. I have a letter of my own as the senator in opposition. And we have sent to this body a number of petitions in opposition. I would offer, Mr. Chair, more from the Rocky Mountain Baptist Church, from the Primrose United Methodist Church. We want to maintain our community. We feel that if the individual really wants this club badly enough, perhaps he or she will find a place near where they live to put the property. And with that,
I'll pass it around.
Mr. Chairman, it is appropriate at this point for me to.
Representative Mayberry.
Mr. Chairman, it is appropriate at this point for me to make note, for the record and for those present. We did receive the petitions and numerous letters in opposition. All of those were forwarded to the Planning Commission. They did receive them prior to this meeting, and I neglected to mention that when I was doing my presentation.
Representative Mayberry.
Thank you very much. I will make my comments brief so that other people can also speak. I represent the district that is just south of this, more of Saline County and the very south portion of Pulaski County. This bumps up next to it. My residents are concerned. I promise you, we have been contacted by a lot of people for quite some time now about the threat of all this. We've stopped it before. We want to keep stopping it. I think Senator Chesterfield has certainly made some good points here. I also want to bring up the point that this is a dry area of Pulaski County. Okay, so keep that in mind. The residents there, you can't even have a liquor store in the area. So please keep that in mind. Also, right down the street is a school, Landmark Elementary School. It's not very far from this location. I should have tracked the exact number of miles or whatever. It's probably not even a mile. But it is not far from there. And if the hours are 11 a.m. to 5 a.m., you know, what type of possible accident could you have as a school bus is going down the street? So please keep those in mind as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Bennett.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Gary Bennett, and I live just right down the street on Arch Street. And I'm just going to read a statement I prepared, and that'll be it. There's a lacking statement in the application that it does not address who will lease the property and facility and their background and experience with such a facility. The ABC documents, I got FOI, regarding this property states that Billy Pope, who lives in Bryant, will lease and manage the proper property facility. ABC documents also provides his experience and employment, which was contained in a letter from me submitted to Dana Carney. His experience relates to clubs such as Paper Moon, Vision Cabaret, Sensations, and Illusions. Per KATV report, January the 29th, 2019, titled, 4 Arkansas strip clubs accused of violating permits, lists Paper Moon and Visions as 2 of the 4 clubs accused with ABC enforcement divisions. 2 clubs for which Mr. Pope listed past experience and which indicates the real type of facility to be operated and maintained. Per the Little Rock Municipal Code, Chapter 36-296, facilities are, quote, designed to promote and protect the health, safety, morals, and convenience, order, prosperity, and other aspects of the general welfare. It also states to protect the character of the districts and their peculiar suitability for particular uses and to conserve the value of land and buildings. The facility is located less than 750 feet from adjacent neighborhoods. It's also stated in that code. For these reasons, letters of objections to Dana Carney, signed petitions, I believe the request to rezone should be denied because of the future negative effect on our community. And I thank you.
My ability to read is not so good. Madison with Porcel and Gerald Ashford.
Thank you. You can blame my handwriting. My name is Madison Throneberry. I'm here on behalf of Porcel which is located right across the street from the subject property. We are opposed to this item. In addition to the residences and the families that this change would affect, there are also businesses in the area. These businesses are reasonably concerned about the effect that this change would have on their customers' perception of the area and those businesses, and additionally, the effect it will have in the safety of their employees that are coming to and from work at the times of operation, and especially at 5 a.m. when this business will be closing. With me is Gerald Ashford. He is the plant manager of Porous L's Litter Rock operations, so I will let him speak on behalf.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate y'all allowing us to speak. Yeah, we have about 120 employees here at the facility. We've been around since 1934. New ownership took over in 96. And so we have poured into that facility millions of dollars to try to upgrade it, and we continue to do that as we continue to do business there. We have a tremendous amount of people coming into our facility, whether it's customers or whether it's our own employees. We want to make sure that they're safe and they're kept. We've had to build a fence around the facility to make sure that we can keep out anybody from wandering in. If something like this was to happen, we believe that that would be enhanced, where more people will be wandering around our facility and they would come in, and we want to protect our employees and protect our assets. So it's at this time we would like you to refuse to allow this rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you, and that's all the cards that we have. I noted a lot of people were in opposition, and that's good, and we thank you. Mr. Giles, would you like to?
Thank you for bearing with me. I had knee surgery a few days ago. The applicant states, and he has stated all along, that the main focus of this establishment is a restaurant. It has a private club license that has been granted by the Circuit Court of Pulaski County for this location. But it's a multi-use thing. It's planned development. He located as far as he could away from the neighborhood and put the drive to the north there by the billboard so it would stay out of the way of the dump trucks on Ironton Road. He states that he'll have adequate security at all times at the facility, and that the restaurant will be open to people that don't have a private club license. I mean, a membership. So, then the lack of experience of the operators is my understanding that Mr. Pope is a very experienced operator, and I don't know about his history. And I'm representing the Choice Equity Investments, the limited liability company that owns the property. And the building is going to be built, to meet all the codes, even exceed some codes and security. And Mr. Akins has got such a substantial investment in this thing, he's certainly not going to have a facility that's going to be a detriment to the neighborhood. And he'll have to abide by that, because I know it's a very sensitive location. When he purchased the property, he said that he did his research with the county and was told that there's no city jurisdiction or code requirements. It's what I'm told by the applicant. And then finds out that the city says that it has extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction over this piece of property, and then he has to come and get it rezoned to a planned development. We have worked for hours with him, and I don't believe that it's going to be deemed to be a sexually oriented business because the nature of the thing meets the guidelines and the ABC regulations and would not come into the Little Rock's code, sexually oriented business code. Other than that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you'd like.
Commissioners, any questions? Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion on this matter.
Chairman, I move that we approve item Z 6535A, including all staff comments and conditions, except the recommendation of denial.
You have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
You have a motion, a second. Any other discussion, commissioners? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Thank you. I didn't count what?
0 ayes, 10 noes, and 1 absent.
Given,
Chairman, if I can explain the procedures for everybody in the room. Since this is a planned development, this is heard before the Planning Commission, and unless the applicant withdraws the application from this point, since there was a denial, it will go forward to the board for final action on any planned development.
It will not go forward unless he appeals.
Oh, unless he appeals? I'm sorry. Dana, please correct me. I did say that wrong.
That the application was denied by the Planning Commission. Motions are always made in the positive. It's a little confusing. Motions are always made in the positive, but the motion failed to receive any votes. The item was denied by the Planning Commission. The applicant may, within 30 days, appeal that decision to the Board of Directors. If that appeal is filed, there will be public notification as there was for the Planning Commission. But the applicant has up to 30 days to determine whether he wishes to file that appeal.
And everybody that turned in a card, if they had their address or email on there, will be put on that notification.
okay, with that, I'm going to exercise a little more prerogative and call for item 8, just because I know you people have other things to do. That's the Union Rescue Mission. So with that, would the applicant care to come forward and address? And again, you have 20 minutes, they have 20 minutes, and you can defer any or all of your time if you want to do follow-up.
Mr. Chairman, if I may make the presentation first from staff.
I'm sorry, forgive me. Yeah, he's going to.
Yeah.
Item number 8, file number Z9383, Union Rescue Mission, POD, located at 4017 Franklin Street. As with the previous application, this property is not within the city limits, but it is within the city's zoning jurisdiction. This property is zoned MF18. Following the March 97 tornado, an effort was made to rebuild much of the College Station community. There was a federal grant awarded in conjunction with that to construct a community sewer service. Because of the grant, College Station made a request to the city to extend the sewer service outside the city limits to serve the community. The grant required that the area to be served remain unincorporated and not part of the city of Little Rock. The city determined if we were going to extend city sewer service that we wanted to extend our zoning jurisdiction over that area as well. And in November of '99, the Board of Directors passed Ordinance 18142 establishing the College Station zoning plan. This property was occupied by a nursing home at the time. The property was zoned multifamily 18 under the zoning plan. Union Rescue Mission is requesting that the zoning of the property be changed from MF18 to POD, a planned office district, to allow for use of the building and property for their use. The facility is to be used as a third mission location in addition to the Nehemiah House and Dorcas House facilities. Reading from the applicant's statement, we intend to provide shelter, mental health counseling, drug and alcohol rehabilitation, job training, and general social services. In doing so, no physical additions to the building, no change in the ground, or changes to the parking lot will take place. The applicants did provide responses to the issues that were raised at Subdivision Committee. The focus of the facility is to provide a transitional treatment program, up to 90-day residential program, and a resource program, which is a day appointment only program for veterans of the nation's various military services. Services will include therapy by certified therapist, counseling, personal liaison to traverse their clients through the VA network. Union Rescue Commission provides service agreements for medical, dental, vision, and prescriptions. There will be mandatory money management classes, career orientation, job placement, mock interviews, and after completion of the programs, they help network to help the clients find independent housing and transportation. Staff does have concerns about the proposed use, recognizing the value of everything that's being proposed. The site was for many years occupied by a nursing home. The nature and activity on the site generated by a nursing home is, in staff's opinion, much different than the use and activity level proposed under this application. And it is the intent of the planned development process to assure that applications are not granted for the sole benefit of the applicant, but that they're used to establish developments that are compatible with the surrounding area and are harmonious with the character of the neighborhood and don't have a negative effect on the future development of the area. The surrounding neighborhood is by and large residential, with an interspersing of non-residential uses. Established residential uses are located directly to the south and north of the site. Staff fears that allowing this use could hamper the potential for new development and could negatively impact the adjacent residential neighborhood, and as such, staff recommends denial of the application.
Now, 20 minutes per side, please.
Thank you. My name is Dorcas Van Gilst, and I'm the Executive Director of Union Rescue Commission, which includes the Dorcas House, not named after me, and the Nehemiah House, Rescue Automotive, Happy Gray Fashions and Furnishings, Happy Gray West, and also Second Story. The Dorcas House provides safe housing, classes, counseling, transportation, clothing, hygiene products, co-pays on medication, support groups, workforce preparedness, budgeting, much more, to women and children who've been trapped in domestic violence, human trafficking, and various addictions. Many of these women bear emotional and physical scars, and unfortunately, many of the children who live at the Dorcas House do also. We also provide all these same services to men at the Nehemiah House. Our clients are precious to us, and we provide this at no charge to them. Although this is a tough job at many times, the truth is we get to witness a lot of success stories. Many of these success stories are in their room among us, and as well as scattered all over the nation. I'll say also, they're your children, our children, all of these neighbors. We get clients from every part of Little Rock and every part of Arkansas, also all across the nation. In the recent months, Union Rescue Commission has totally done away with sheltering of the transient homeless. And I don't know how much everybody's aware of that. We stopped doing it back in like August, September, because it wasn't actually helping the homeless. It was enabling them to stay in the same cycle they'd been in. In all of our programs and facilities, we were willing to help you if you want to change. That's what we lean towards. I mean, you can come in, but if you want to stay, we expect you to lean towards change and to begin to be committed to change. And the programs and facilities that we have now, we want to extend that to another population, which is the veterans. You as the Little Rock City Planning Commissioner are aware the property in College Station was donated to the Union Rescue Mission, and we named that building Second Story. We have a deep desire to use this facility to begin serving the amazing men and women who have served our country in the armed forces. Their first story is one of selfless service for our protection and our freedom. Their second story needs to be one of hope and help and a bright future. Veterans have unique needs And we are prepared to meet those needs in the same way that we have always done for our clients. We intend to offer classes, counseling, case management, transportation, food, clothing, copays on medication, transitional housing, day treatment, support and resources for their family, and that list, of course, only scratches the surface. We believe that God has provided this specific property for us to begin to joyfully serve the men and women who have selflessly and sacrificially served us. We thank you, City Planning Commission, for considering rezoning this property so that these men and women can receive all that they deserve. We also have a pile of letters that have been written. Could I submit them? Do I submit them over here? Okay. And I will now turn the mic over to our president and CEO. Actually, to Roy. Say, yeah, come on, Roy.
I think I just got an upgrade to president and CEO. I am Roy W. Thompson. I'm chairman of the board this year of the Union Rescue Mission, and all your board members are volunteers. I just want to say to you, kind of tell you what the mission represents. And first of all, it's been around 70 years that the Union Rescue Mission has been helping men, women, children, and has restored hope through a relationship where we stress God and our relationship with Him. And so the mission is dedicated to really genuinely helping those in need. We do acknowledge that. We give voice to the voiceless, those that are least heard and able to voice their concerns in society, stand for the weak, advocate for the powerless. Think about that. Those who cannot and are not able to advocate for themselves and seek to love the unlovable, and that includes all people groups. And of course, in this case right here, we're looking at the issue of dealing with veterans who are in a place where they have need. And so that is what the mission is all about. Try to go above and beyond, providing for the needs of individuals that are in our care, and we try to exceed expectations when it comes to facilities. You will see, if you look, there is a picture of the Nehemiah House there, and the facility that is houses the men that are presently working through. There is a picture of the Dorcas House, which houses ladies, and you will notice that these facilities are kept very well with excellence, and I think you can be guaranteed if the Union Rescue Mission takes on this address at 4017 Franklin Street, that it will do so, and the facilities will be above board. And so just want to note that we're about helping people and doing so really the whole person, physical person, mental person, emotional person, spiritual person. It looks at the whole enchilada, so to speak, and that's what this is really about for the mission, is an opportunity to help those that need help in the area of veterans. So I want to note that. Keith.
Well, thank you so much for allowing me a little time to come and just speak literally from the heart. My name is Keith Medlock. I am the president and the CEO of the Union Rescue Mission, but I am a retired veteran from the U.S. Army. I was injured in combat arms in 1998, defending my country. I am on the board of the Federal Advisory Committee for the state of Arkansas. And in cooperation with the VA and the veteran system, being injured, I've had my leg replaced, my knees. My hand has gone through 3 different surgeries. I got listening devices so that I can hear when people speak to me. And there's many people that come in that are of need, that they're falling through the cracks through the VA system, and they don't have an advocate to help them out. So it is my honor and my privilege to be able to help my brother and to help my sister who is following through the cracks in through the VA system. So we're going to partner with them and give them an advocate, give them a voice. We set them up with life groups, and you might be asking me, well, what is a life group? Well, I'm glad you asked. A life group is like last week. we had one of my military friends that was overseas, and he missed Christmas with his family. It's the first time that he saw his daughter when he got back stateside. So we devised a plan to break into his house, and don't put that in the notes. We didn't break in. Okay, we broke in, but it was for a good reason. But we broke in their house and set up a Christmas tree and provided presents for his children and himself and his wife, to where when they opened up the door, we were all there waiting for them so that they could celebrate Christmas together as a family. That is what our life group is about. We have career orientation, because I can tell you, I was trained really good about carrying my weapon and never letting it fall. But you know what? It was difficult for me to come back stateside and figure out what the heck I was supposed to do. So I was able, just simply because of the foundation of my family and my sisters and my parents who are so loving to me, that I was able to get back on my feet and start a career to where, amazingly, through a network of people, here I stand today. But not all the people that we are serving have that opportunity like I do. Many of them are coming back home with meeting individuals that don't even recognize them and know them. They've gone through such a tremendous tragedy in their life, and to seeing things that I promise you I'll never speak to with anybody, the things that I have personally seen. And I tell you, and people say, well, you know what? They're coming in and they're broken people. These individuals have PTSD, and I was told PTSD is a real deal. And we don't want those types of people in our community. And I'll be honest to say, we have PTSD from all sorts of reasons. Be it that you're impacted by a mother or father that might have been abusive to you. Maybe you went through some situations that were just unfair, and you have PTSD as well. So it's not just necessarily the armed forces. Job training is so important to be able to re-gear them and get them engaged back into society. We do have therapists and counselors who are certified, who work for me. We're not just sending people up to them and just hoping that they'll get some groundwork in their mental illnesses that some of them are facing. It might be just simple, a little bitty tablet that they can be taking on a normal basis that levels their the chemical imbalancing that they're dealing with, that allows them to live a normal, productive life. And all of these services, you might be saying, well, how do you do all this? Because I don't receive money from the federal. I don't receive money from the state. I don't receive money from anything. We raise our own money. It takes me $1.3 million to do what we do, and it is on our own personal dollar that we do it. I believe in what we do, and I'm willing to fight for that. And all these services that we do provide is at no charge at all for them. Our program overview, we will have a day service. You will see Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30 p.m., where veterans of all ages, it doesn't matter if they're retired from World War II or if they're brand newbie and they're coming in and they're an E1. If they're needing assistance and help, we provide that. It might be that their wife is there and their husband is sent overseas. Well, what do we do? Well, we've got places within our group and our network that help them, but sometimes, you know what, they might just need their grass mowed. You know, it might just need that their car needs an oil change, and we're willing to do that at no charge for them. And in our residential services, we're going to be able to provide 35 clients on an ongoing program to assist them in re-engaging in society outside of the military, because frankly, that's all they know. You can see some of the individuals that we see here on the screen and have worked through, and actually a lot of them are here today. These are our individuals that we work and serve with and partner with. And what's amazing about what we have the opportunity to do is, now that these individuals that have given the absolute best of their lives and have served their country diligently, and now they're just needing a little assistance from our community and our state, I just don't understand how we could ever turn our backs on them. I don't see how we could even fathom that. So the Union Rescue Mission is planning to provide a place to serve those who have served our nation. I'm going to close here just so that I can have a few minutes afterwards to be able to possibly answer any questions that anybody from the opposing side would like to say.
I think I have two cards in support of you. If they'd care to speak, Roy Thompson.
He's already spoken.
Okay, well, never mind. Got it. Okay. Those opposed?
You left your hearing aid.
Do what? I'm joking.
May it please the commission, my name is Austin Porter Jr., and I'm here on behalf of the residents of College Station. I'm the president of the Progressive League of College Station, an organization that's been around since about 1968, started by Annie Mae Bankhead and other members of the community. The College Station community is a community that, as you know, lies right outside of the city of Little Rock, right by the airport. A community of residents. We all are related to one another. We know each other. My father lived right directly across the street from the nursing home, and he's here. When we first started this journey, and I will submit to you that the Union Rescue Mission, what they're proposing, it kind of sound like to me as a Trojan horse. Because their initial application that they submitted to the Arkansas Community Correction was simply to open up a transitional living facility. And we believe that if the Union Rescue Mission is allowed to have this area rezoned, that their real purpose will be shown up. By having a transitional living facility that's being operated in that particular location. We're opposed to that. We're also opposed to any rezoning that should take place in that area. College Station is a bedrock community, and you're talking about having the Union. This facility is right in the heart of the community. And one of the ultimate sign of disrespect for this community is that no one came from the Union Rescue Mission. Reverend Medlock met with the community about 8 months ago. And I remember Reverend Medlock saying, you know what, I won't put anything in that facility that the community is opposed to. Well, we're opposed to this. We're opposed to any type of transitional living facility, and we're also opposed to their new plan that they all of a sudden came up with at the last minute. And again, we believe that this is just simply a Trojan horse that they are presenting to this commission. We're opposed to it. There's a College Station Elementary School, a school that I attended when I was a little kid. It's only about 700 feet from that particular location. And when the initial organization that wanted to sponsor or wanted to open this facility was called Renew Life Center, and they wanted to open up a transitional living facility. And because they were proposing to have sex offenders and violent offenders located at that facility, they were required by state law to present notices to the people of the community who live within 1,000 feet of the area of that particular location. And it's interesting to note that Arkansas Code annotated 514.128 makes it illegal for a sex offender to even live within 2,000 feet of a school. The College Station community has worked long and hard since the March 1st, 1997 tornado that ravaged that community. We have worked extremely hard. We built many homes, we built many businesses, and we have worked long and tired trying to improve the image of the College Station community, and we have accomplished that. And we believe that, for an outside organization to want to come into our community and first of all, not even address us, not even ask us, not even to get our consideration, is a sign of total disrespect to our community. And we believe that the commission should not allow this to take place. And we're asking that you vote no on this proposal. Again, the organization that initially wanted to bring this into this community, they did not consult us at all. They did not talk to us at all. And also the previous owners, the owners of the nursing home, could have donated that particular property to the neighborhood, but they chose not to do that. Again, another sign of disrespect to that community. And so we're asking that you deny this petition, because College Station is a community that's been around for a long time and existed for a long time. And it's it is a neighborhood that has a residential character, and that's something that we want to keep. That's something that we want, that we're fighting to preserve. We have families, we have children who walk up and down the street going to school. It is a safe neighborhood, and that's what we want to keep it as such. And so we are asking that you deny this application. I know we have a lot of people who want to speak. I want to ask all of the people in College Station, would you please stand? And we also have people in the audience. We have Bishop Kenneth Robinson, who is a minister in the community. And we have all of these people are here in opposition to this petition to rezone. And we have presented petitions signed by many residents of the College Station community. And again, we're asking that you honor that to preserve the residential character of our community. And so we have Gloria Dozier. Ms. Dozier is our executive director. Gloria, I want to ask you to come and speak for just a minute. I know we have a lot of people who want to speak, but we don't want to be here all night. Okay, so Gloria, would you please come? We also have a representative from the school, College Station School, who's here as well. And churches as well.
This is the Peace Green who needs to come next.
Yes, thank you, Green, and we thank you, Senator Pondexter.
Thank you, Mr. Porter, Mr. Commissioner, and the board. My name is Gloria Dozier. I am a lifelong resident of the College Station community. Mr. Porter took most of my things that I had prepared, but I just want to say this evening, as I stand here, I must admit that I'm very emotional about what the Union Rescue Mission is asking of the College Station community without even consulting us. As Mr. Porter stated, we have worked very hard. We have no money. We have a long history of crime, killing, you name it. But since that tornado, we worked very hard to bring about positive changes in our community. And those changes are working. And now, just from nowhere, someone pops up and says, we are going to give you all these wonderful services. They told it to Channel 4 News. They didn't tell it to the community. So what we need this evening is to let you all know that in the area that we live, College Station is very small. We are surrounded by the Nehemiah House, the Dorcas House, the Jericho, Safe Harbor. Everybody is putting those facilities in our neighborhoods. And these are very low-income people trying to make a living and to live decent. We have the watershed already that provides the services that Union Rescue Mission say that they are going to provide.
Do me a favor, speak to us.
When the nursing home administrator left, he told me, yeah, I'm going to give that to the Union Rescue Mission for a homeless men's shelter. Well, why not give it to us? We have children that we would love to have swimming pools. We would love to have a building where they could go inside and play ball and do other things that other children do. We would love to become the Chanel of College Station. But every time we start doing something like that, we get a deterrent in our community. God knows we need a break. We need some things that will be really positive for us. And you know, I was asked yesterday on the news, well, do you not care about veterans? Of course I care about veterans. All of my uncles were a veteran. My dad is a veteran. My husband was a veteran. My daughter is a 20-plus year veteran. And what I feel about the veterans in that shelter, if they really cared about the veterans, the homeless, the drugs and alcohol and other conditions, you would put them in a decent environment. The environment that they are going to take them to is not decent. The building is 50 or 60 years older. I was a little girl. I'm not going to say how old I am, but I was a little girl when they put that building there. I worked there as a nurse. I know that building, and it is in substandard condition. This is why the nursing home moved out, because the building was not suitable. So you say we don't care about veterans. We care about people. I love people. That was my mission in life, was to help as many people as I could. And I could just talk on and on, but I do want to say, why duplicate all of these services when the services are there? There has to be other neighborhoods that could use these services, because ours are right there. We don't need them. So what I'm asking today, Mr. Madlock and that group, please take your services somewhere else. We don't need them. We have our services. There are many, many vacant buildings in the Little Rock vicinity. Please use some of those and give people a decent give them decent housing to live in. Thank you.
Judy Green, Justice of the Peace Green.
Thank you. Good evening. I won't waste my time. I'm sure protocol has already been established. I am Justice of the Peace of Pulaski County on the Quorum Court, and College Station and Wrightsville are two of the 11 areas that I represent. And I'm just concerned about, I don't know if, well, let me grab my thoughts. I don't want to be redundant. The only thing that I can say is that I support the residents of my district, but the concerns that I have, this may not be the proper venue or time for them. I'm sure you'll let me know if it's not. My concern is the zoning. Now, I talked to Mr. Carver this morning, and he informed me. I asked him about the zoning because a part of College Station or a part of Wrightsville is in Little Rock, and the other part is in Pulaski County. And I asked Mr. Carver this morning, who has the priority over issues like this, Pulaski County of Little Rock? And he said Little Rock does, because they're allowed 3 miles outside of the city of Little Rock. My concern is that, and one of the other things is that Tafton is a little area between Wrightsville and Sweet Home, and it's a community, it's a small community of people, and they pay taxes in Little Rock, they pay taxes in Wrightsville, and they pay taxes to Sweet Home. And they can't vote in either area. These are non-voting people. And what my concern is, what is the possibility that the city officials, the planning committee, can get together with the officials of these communities, and I'd be happy to meet with you all also, to possibly change the zoning so that if the areas are, if it's Pulaski County, all of it should be Pulaski County. If it's Little Rock, all of it should be Little Rock. So that's my concern, and if somebody would address it, please, I would like to hear from somebody at some time to let me know if this issue can be addressed, to change the zones so that Pulaski County has the authority of the zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Miller?
Hello, my name is Barbara Miller. I'm a resident of College Station, and I am a caregiver. I've been seeing after the senior citizens for 20 years, and that is our concern. Our senior citizens need somewhere to go, and we wanted that building for like a senior citizen retirement place and for the disabled people, and they would like to stay in the community, and that's what we want. We want to keep that building in our community, and we want to be the one that's handling everything. We don't want no outside people coming in our community. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Christopher King?
Good evening. I'm Christopher King, and I'm a resident of College Station, and I live within 1,000 feet of this facility. And I'm opposed to them putting that building there for what they want it there for. Because if you look behind the Nehemiah house, all those homeless camps, all those people there. And then when they don't let those people in at a certain time of night, they all fluctuate throughout the community. And that's what they are doing in our community. And we have elementary school kids that walk to school there every day. And we just don't need that. College Station is a community. We don't have no crime hardly. We police ourselves down there. You can go to the sheriff department or down there where they keep the records. We haven't had a homicide since 2002. We don't have no drug problems there in the community no more. We just made us a good place to live. And I think that would destroy everything that we have, because it wouldn't do nothing but start kids back to selling drugs to all those people that's going to be walking and infiltrating our community. And so that's why I'm opposed to it.
Thank you. Cynthia Ingram.
After Ms. Ingram, I think do we have someone from the school that's going to be here? We would like to have that person come to speak as well about the safety issue concern. And after the person from the school, then we'll let you do what you need to do. Okay. We also have Bishop Robinson here. You may want to speak as well.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to voice my opinion. I am also a lifetime resident of College Station who lives within 1,000 feet of this facility. When the nursing home was there, we had to worry about their residents getting out, coming into the neighborhood, wandering all day long, doing things they had no business doing. I don't think that if they allow this place to come in, that it would be good for our community. What are we going to get from it other than having some strangers where we're not going to feel safe? Right now, my mother, she can sit outside on the porch if she want to. I have a great aunt, she's 102. She can sit outside on her porch if she want to. If we have strangers in the neighborhood that we don't know, then we're going to go back to doing what we used to do, locking doors, not feeling safe. With this military stuff that just came up last night, that threw me for a good loop. Because me, myself, both of my sisters are veterans. I have two brothers that are veterans. I have an uncle that's a veteran. And I have nothing against the veterans. I have nothing against giving someone a second chance. But why in our neighborhood? Our neighborhood is so small. We know everybody, if not by name, by sight. Austin Porter Jr., that's my cousin. Everybody in here I can name that's related to me, that we grew up together. We are a family-oriented neighborhood, and we need to keep it that way. We need to keep our children and our elders safe. Right now, they feel safe. I can leave my daughter, go out of town, and be gone all week and not worry about her. If we have strange people in the neighborhood, that's not going to work. She's talking about leaving home because she won't feel safe anymore. And we shouldn't have to feel that way in our community that we have worked hard for. When I was a little girl, it was not a place to live. Now, I'm very proud to say I live in College Station. People are not afraid to come to College Station anymore. Thank you. And I am opposed of the Union Rescue Mission bringing any type of facility to our neighborhood. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Curtis Johnson. I'm the current Executive Director of Operations for Pulaski County Special School District. It's humbling for me to stand before you this evening because I am a graduate of Pulaski County Special School District. I grew up in Wrightsville. I spent the bulk of my time in College Station. It is a pleasure, and indeed a pleasure, for me to represent the children in the community of College Station as far as our school district is concerned. We have approximately 132 kids that attend school at College Station. And we're fighting right now. I've been in this position 6 months to try to fight to maintain some order about our school district and to settle some things down from a DSEG standpoint as far as the school district is concerned for College Station. In the midst of that fight, I get a chance to basically be a part of one of the greatest communities in the city of Little Rock, the people of College Station. We intend to fight, and we're opposed to this. The Union Rescue Mission effort to basically get in this building that's basically in College Station. And I have support of my board of director member, Ms. Tina Ward, that's here. Also the principal of the school, Ms. Kim, is here, and a host of staff members that are here to represent the school as far as our community go. This is an opportunity for us to get a lot of things right. This is not right for College Station, simply put. Thank you.
By way of closing, the College Station community has just completed constructing our softball, baseball complex. That's a project that we have been working on for the last 15 to 20 years. We spent many hours, a lot of money trying to get that done for our youth. We have a park just right down the street from the proposed, where the area of the nursing home is. Again, we have worked long and hard to improve the image of our community. And we ask that this commission deny the zoning application request of Union Rescue Mission. My father lived right across the street. He served in the military for many, many years. I have two sons who are in the military, and we're very proud of our veterans. But also we're very proud of our community. You know, I'm proud of the fact that I grew up in College Station, lived in College Station. I am a lawyer. I've been practicing civil rights law for the past 32 years, and I'm proud to come from that community. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and we ask that you deny this zoning application request by the Union Rescue Mission. Thank you.
You got a minute left if anybody would, or did that.
Well, thank you so very much. And since I was pushed here, to all of you, we want to, again, let me just say that to Union Rescue Mission, thank you for recognizing the greatness of College Station, because it is a great place. And College Station take pride in being College Station. And so we just ask at this time, at this hour, that you will hear the heart of the community and respond in that particular way. God bless you.
Applicant?
And I love the opportunity to be able to speak on some of the things that have been brought up. And again, these are the things that I'm hearing again and again and again. They're saying, one, I did not meet with the community. If you recall, I was in your community. I talked with Coach, which was the first time that I ever had the opportunity to talk to Coach. He told me what he thought about me bringing the veterans in there at that time, which was about 8 or 9 months ago, saying that PTSD was a real thing and he don't want those types of people in our community. I couldn't say it any better myself than the majority of the individuals, saying they want ownership of this property. That's the bottom line. That's where the nuts and bolts truly are, is the ownership of this property. They're wanting to talk about building a community center. They're talking about building swimming pools. They're talking about all these different things, but the bottom line, at the end of the day, we've got to do what we think is best and right for who and what we serve. They're talking about violent offenders coming in there. By the way, we know and we're very well of the law. We have, nor will we ever have violent offenders in our program. We don't do it. We don't allow it. But I've heard 3 times tonight that we were going to allow violent offenders inside our community as far as the program. Not true. They said that we're going to allow sex offenders inside our community. It's against the law. We will not, and apparently I don't know why it's falling on deaf ears, we will not have sex offenders nor violent offenders nor people who have been discharged for any reason other than an honorable discharge. So again, no violent and no sexual offenders will ever be there. It's funny, talking about the nursing home and how they didn't feel safe with the nursing home individuals coming out and wandering around, I guess impeding traffic in their wheelchair. I don't really know what we're talking about here, but at the same time, we're talking about a group of people that are helpless. They need assistance. They need our help. And that's how I see our veterans as well. Our veterans just need a hand up, not a handout. We haven't changed our MO since day one. We've talked about this. I talked to Coach about this 8 or 9 months ago. And And so therefore, at this time, I'm going to, if we have much more time, how much time do I have at this time? All right, I have another individual that I'd like to come up and speak to you, please.
Good evening, distinguished board members and members of the community. My name is A.J. McMahon, and I'm just here to say that at the end of the day, we're all Americans. And I think that's something that we need to remember. There's a lot of division in our country. There's a lot of division in this room. There's a lot of division based on where we live or our ages or what we believe. But sometimes things just come down to the facts. And one of the facts is that I've lived, I won't say in College Station, but maybe on the edge. You all know the railroad track right there where Nehemiah House is. You know, that crosses over, go down into College Station. Right out of college, I lived there. I lived there for 3 years. Right out of college, as I had a chance to work with the Union Rescue Mission. I lived on site right there at the railroad tracks for 3 years. And getting out of college and never had anything like this before, I got a new car. It was used, but it was new to me, and on site. And first thing I told my mom was, I'm going to get an alarm for this car because, you know, working with the men over there and, you know, and in the area. My mom said, hey, you know, just pray about it. Now, that may sound silly, but 3 years I never got an alarm, never did anything. My car was never harmed. And that's a testimony to College Station because we live right over there. It's a testimony to the residents of College Station, but that's also a testimony to the residents of the Union Rescue Mission and how the Union Rescue Mission is run. That in that neighborhood and in that community and work with people that need help, I felt safe there. And this is not taken away from anyone's safety. Safety is the number one thing. I'm a counselor in Little Rock. I'm a father. I would never advocate for anything unsafe for my children or another person. And what I can say is that there's a lot of fear here. But the reality of how the mission is run is based on safety and support for individuals to help them to have better lives. And who better than our veterans? It is not a Trojan horse. My money and my time, since I've always given, I still give time and money every single month. Why'd I do that to the Union Rescue Mission? Because they operate with integrity. They operate in a way to be able to help people. It was said that this is the heart of the community. Our veterans are the heart of our nation. It was said that, the building, but this is an opportunity where resources can come together. We may want swimming pools and all those things, but who's going to drag those pools? Who's going to do the upkeep? Who's going to do that? We've got to pull together our resources. Now is not the time to fight against each other. It's the time to pull together and fight for our veterans. And that's what we're here to say. This is for our veterans. And we're asking everybody in this room, not just up there, I'm asking everybody in this room to fight for our veterans, because that's just really what this is about. And we do, but we get a chance. We've got an opportunity, a time in history. Now, when I see someone on the corner, a person, I don't know if that's a veteran. I don't know what I can do. There's not much I can do, but this we can do. We can do this now. We can help them now. We can talk about a lot of things, but we have an opportunity to do good for those who sacrifice nothing less than everything for us. So I'm asking all of us to be able to pull together as Americans to put aside our fear or anything else that would let us stand in the way of supporting our veterans. Thank you.
Hang on.
Excuse me, no. May I present this letter to you that we as the residents of College Station received from them, the original hearing that they canceled
Okay.
because of this?
Thank you. You got a minute left. Did you want something?
I understand. Because they originally stated it was for the ACC, not for veterans.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, yes, sir.
Thank you very much. No, ma'am?
Just some.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I only have one closing thing to say. I would just like for everybody to stand who's here in support of the Union Rescue Mission. I want to publicly apologize to all of our clients who have been wounded by things that have been said, because these are worthy people, and I love you guys. You're amazing. So anybody stand who's in support?
Thank you. Okay, commissioners. Questions? Commissioner May.
You're looking at 11 volunteers up here. We weren't, I got in this mess like I got in the service. I was drafted. It's very seldom we hear two positive things. I want to applaud the Union Rescue Mission for the work they do. And for heaven's sakes, how can we not applaud these people for what they've done out there? Give each other. Bishop, I think we need prayers, so pray for me if you would. But thank y'all for understanding each other. And we have to vote one way or another, this is one that really hurts. I like it when I don't like one group. It's real easy. But I like both groups. It's going to be hard to vote. But remember, we have to vote one way. We don't get paid for this. Thanks.
Commissioner Thomas.
Hello, excuse me. I'm Commissioner Thomas, and I tend to be a big advocate of communities and residents, and I do believe that I applaud the Union Rescue Mission for their mission and everything. But I mean, I've been through College Station. I've sold houses out there and everything, and I do remember when the tornado came through. I have seen the rebuild. And I know it's a small community, and I'm looking at the number of residents here. We have residents here. We have the Pulaski County School District representative here. I mean, communities are made up of these people. This is what our communities are when we all go home here. So I trust this community on what they live there. So I trust them in what they believe they need. I trust the work they have done so far, and I trust them to work further, so I can't be in support of you locating there.
This may be more of a question for the staff, but the recommendation here, it seems, is based upon a negative effect upon the future development of the area. So my question is, as it sits right now, is this an occupied facility that's being run and maintained?
No.
No, it is currently unoccupied.
Okay. And so the idea is that someone else would come in and operate it in some way that was positive for the community?
Yes. That's certainly hopeful, yes.
And then the other question is, if the application were granted and it made it all the way through, there's been a particular program that's been presented today. What would prevent it from being changed to a different program or expanded or contracted or?
This was a planned development application. If it were approved, it would only be approved for what was presented in this application. Any expansion, any change, any varying from what was presented would be a violation of the planned development. It would be enforceable by the city in its district court. Now, there's certainly nothing that would prohibit them from coming back before the commission and asking to change, but it would take that type of action. Anything other than that would be a violation of city code.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Don't speak often, but I think our new leadership of the city, ran on a platform of coming together. I think this is an opportunity for that to happen. It's great to see such, citizen awareness and community. And I'm sorry that it's not being brought together as quickly and as easily as it could be. So I hope there's a resolution here, and I hope that's something that we as a city can do to, be better at. So with that said, I hope that we can come together.
Commissioner Haynes.
This is a question for staff. In your denial, you put new development has been slow to come to the area and that staff fears proposed use could hamper potential new development in the future. What does staff get that information from as far as how would that hamper new development by having a facility?
You'll note we did not say that it will hamper development.
Good.
Our concern is, it's based in some sense on experience in working with programs that have a similar focus, is that they do tend to have a dampening effect on the potential redevelopment of properties in the general area. And College Station is a community that has come a long way in the 20 years that they've been working towards redevelopment. Our concern is any use that might potentially go in that property that might further hamper the redevelopment of the community.
I'm sorry, just to follow up on that. So then the building as it sits now would be a more preferable use than putting in a productive use?
Commissioner Rahman, our analysis and recommendation is based on the application that's currently before us.
Understood. Okay, thanks.
Any other comments? I just have one. It's a yes or no question for the applicant. Is your clientele veterans only?
Correct, yes.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, I move that we make a motion of approval of Z9383, including all staff comments and conditions, except for recommendation of denial.
Is there a second? Second. There is a second. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed?
Mr. Chairman, could we have a re-show of hands, please?
He wants a re-show of hands, so all those in...
Yeah, clarification.
If you're in favor of the project, if you're in favor of the applicant, vote yes. If not, vote no. So with that, let's try it again. All those in favor of the project, raise your right hand. All those opposed to the project, raise your hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jesus Christ. Thank you.
If y'all would try your best. Our next item will be item A, 4616 Asher Avenue. Would the applicant, I'm sorry, would the staff read the comments on item A? If it's not the, it's one of them. I'm sorry?
Centennial Fellowship in Pine Bluff.
Oh,
Dorcas. I know I have gray hair now.
I would.
We went to church together and I was like,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think probably the Bowman Apartments have about Keith Richards.
Mr. Chairman, item A, file number Z9352, property located at 4616 Asher Avenue. It's the 4616 Asher Avenue short form PCD. The applicant is proposing a rezoning of the site from C3 General Commercial to PCD Planned Commercial Development District to allow for use of the property for an event center. The space in question is the former banquet hall of the nearby Kitchen Express restaurant. The properties are no longer associated, and the facility, they have separate owners, and the owner of this facility is asking for approval to allow for use of what was the banquet hall as an event center. The applicant proposes to hold corporate events, school athletic banquets, barber, beauty events. Space will be available for rent for private parties, such as baby showers, engagement dinners, anniversary celebrations, fundraiser, and holiday parties. And the use of the property will potentially include ticketed events. The use as described does meet our definition of an event center. As we were considering reviewing, as we were doing the review of this item, and I put in the agenda the typical standards and requirements when an event center is under consideration. Again, these are taken out of the conditional use permit section of the code, which requires that there be 750 feet of separation between an event center and a single-family or residential property. The planned development application is the appropriate application to make when that condition cannot be met. So the application itself is an appropriate application to file. The office hours of this proposed operation are 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. The event center operation itself, though, will be operating no later than 12 midnight, Monday through Wednesday, and Thursday through Sunday. The event hours can go to 1 o'clock in the morning. One of our primary concerns associated with this, in addition to the proximity to nearby residential, is the question of parking. The event center building contains 4,000 square feet of floor area, requiring 40 parking spaces. There's limited parking available actually on the property itself. The applicant was able to obtain from the property owner access to a 30-space parking lot. If you look at the map that's before you, just to the north and slightly to the east, where Mr. Malone has placed the cursor, that's a 30-space parking lot that is being made available. That, combined with the spaces on the site, does address the issue of parking. Staff does continue to have concerns about the proposed event center, related primarily to the proximity of the site to the residential neighborhood directly to the north. The newly available 30-space parking lot, while addressing the need for parking, the space parking lot itself is directly adjacent to single-family residences. To use that parking lot, persons attending the event center will have to walk the half block between sites into and near the residential neighborhood. We're concerned that the noise and activity associated with use of the parking lot will have a detrimental effect on the residences, again, with hours extending to midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. Staff is not able to support the application. We do recommend denial of the application.
Okay, on the applicant, again, you have the right to go forth, or you have the right to wait and see what the one opposition card has to say.
Let me pass, Your Honor, let's see what the opposition says.
John Busby.
Afternoon. My name is John Busby. I represent the estate of Cedric Mays, which owns the Kitchen Express restaurant, as well as, if you look at the picture, a sliver directly adjacent to the proposed site, which is called 4612 Asher, although it's part of 4600 Asher. We also own several of the adjacent properties behind along 31st Street, and there is an ongoing estate. The owner of the proposed site and the estate are currently still in litigation. Technically, the piece of property that is the proposed 30-spot parking lot is involved in that litigation still, and there's been no disbursement of property from the estate yet. So it's conceivable, we haven't done title work on 3020 Adams, but it's conceivable that that property will not ultimately be divested from the estate and will remain with the other heirs of the estate. The city identified, I think the word he used was there's limited parking in front of it. That's polite. There's very few parking spots there. That sliver that we're calling 4612 Asher, actually, we have a tenant in there, and he's going to require a parking spot. So one of those spots will not go to the banquet hall. It will be part of ours. Also, 3020 Asher, where the proposed parking spot is, that will entail people leaving up to possibly 1 a.m. For parties or whatever at this spot, traversing our property, possibly involving alcohol. I don't know. Yes.
Where is Kitchen Express on this map?
Right there, where the arrow is pointing.
Okay, I thought you were.
Right. And there's parking in the front of Kitchen Express and parking in the rear, and I think it's to be expected that any time Kitchen Express, I mean, they're going to use our parking spots. They won't be able to control where their people park, and they will park in our spots. And there's limited parking for our restaurant, and we don't want to give up our spots for their banquet hall. The hours of Kitchen Express are to, I believe, 7 p.m. But on occasion, because this site used to be the Kitchen Express banquet hall, it's conceivable that they will decide to use the restaurant to host banquets and be open later for private parties and such. In which case, there will be many more cars there than the area can hold. So we object on the basis of parking and on behalf of our tenants on the properties along West 31st Street that the estate owns. Thank you.
You, Ruth Bell?
I am indeed Ruth Bell, and I'm still with the League of Women Voters. And our concern is with the distance from that parking lot I'm looking at and the site of the event center. The thought of some people happily going back to their car about 1 a.m. In a parking lot that is so close to residences kind of makes me think it would not be too pleasant for the people who live in the houses nearby to have that happen on a regular basis every weekend, every Thursday through whenever. And I can also see that there'd be a lot of walking across the parking lot that belongs to the other facility to get to the parking lot that belongs to the applicant, which means you'd have a lot of foot traffic going through another parking lot with the potential to have accidents happen, unfortunately, to pedestrians as they wend their way. It just doesn't sound like a feasible way to handle the parking issue because it does intrude so much on the neighborhood close by. Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. May it please the commission, my name is Ed Daniel, and I represent Ms. Kathy Frazier Mays, who's the applicant, to ask for this PCD permit to be approved for her event center. A little background on this property. Ms. Mays was married to Cedric Mays from 1995 until he died in 2015. And during that time, in 2001, Mr. and Ms. Mays bought this building right here next to theirs to be a banquet hall, and it has been a banquet hall. And if you prove it tonight, it'll still be a banquet hall. If it's we're being put into the category of an event center, and if that requires modifications to keep doing what we've been doing for 17 years, then we'll accept that. If we've got to cut back on our hours and close earlier, if there's something that an event center does that's objectionable to other people, then we're willing to work with that to get it approved, to keep it going as what it's always been. Now, in 1998, the parking lot that we're talking about in the neighborhood was bought by Mr. Mays. It's in his estate right now, and it's going to be Mrs. Mays as soon as Mr. Busby talked about litigation. The litigation is all done except for distributing the property out. Mrs. Mays is going to get that property, and surprise, it's been used for 21 years now for what they're talking about, walking back and forth. All of this has been one big happy family, but we're not a happy family anymore. Now, what's happened in Mr. Mays' probate is that Mrs. Mays automatically got this property that we're talking about today because it was in joint names. She's getting, as part of her marital property, the parking lot, but Kitchen Express itself was left to his brothers and sisters. And they are like this. So that's why their attorney showed up. They didn't care enough to show up, but they sent their attorney over here to just throw some more heat on it to see if y'all could do it. And you know, this lady came in here and she doesn't want all this walking traffic. I mean, we're willing to work with whatever we need to do to keep this going, but it's been like that for 20 years. I mean, we don't want to increase. We don't want to give the impression that we're going to have rock concerts there or we're going to be a bar or something like that. We're not. We don't even serve alcohol, right? We don't. I mean, it's just a banquet hall for people to have birthday parties, reunions, meetings, and even for a couple of years, we had a church in there every Sunday renting it out. It's a very mild use of a property, and so given all that background and the fact that we're willing to limit operating hours if that's a sticking point, we ask you to approve this PCD and allow us to continue our banquet hall. Thank you.
Just a quick question. I understand that the probate is essentially done, and I guess that's the litigation that was referred to. Is there some additional
Right, no,
piece of
that's it.
Okay, so the only thing that's left to be done is the distribution of the property. So I guess the question is there a reason, staff, maybe that this is on this agenda versus when you actually have had the distribution that makes the property actually yours versus still in the trust? Because right now, it seems like the interests are held in two different hands, and although we have a representation that you'll get it, there is this conceivable possibility that you won't have it.
See, that's what Mr. Busby was here to cast aspersions and to make you say, what if, maybe, maybe. There's no proof of maybe. I've got documentation that they've agreed to let us have that anytime we want it, to have it distributed out to us. I mean, that's right now they're parking on that lot just like they have been for the last 21 years. But with this change of ownership, things are fixing to change. We won't be parking. I can assure you, we won't be parking on their place, and I can assure you they probably won't be parking on ours either.
So, okay. So do you know when the distribution will happen?
Well, could have already done it, but we're waiting to try to do a global settlement. There's a whole lot of property in the estate, some of it certain and some of it not, that we're trying to get finalized. We've had a proposal for 2 months, and they're waiting on this, I guess.
Commissioner Thomas?
Staff, for clarification, the application that's before us right now, could you reiterate that again? I'm getting confused with all the litigation and stuff going on. They're just wanting to utilize the building right next door to Kitchen Express for an event center for the hours that's been stipulated in the application. Is that correct?
Yes.
This is the building right next door to Kitchen Express, correct?
It's two doors down.
2 doors down, okay. Because I'm trying to get a visual. I think I know exactly what it is.
There's a sliver. It's sort of hard to tell. If you look at
That's
the
Kitchen
map, you'll
Express.
see the area outlined in
Yes,
red.
right next
There's
door.
a little sliver on the east end of it that is not part of this application. That's the portion of the building that Mr. Busby was referring to.
Yes.
So
Didn't
it's
this, was
the area
this
that's in
prior,
red, and then
was
to
it
satisfy
prior
the parking,
use,
they're showing the
used
parking.
for like a banquet or dinner hall?
Yes, that's all. That is,
Okay, so
since 2001, it's been used.
Yeah,
for
I
that
thought it was
purpose.
already a banquet or dinner hall there, because I think I've been there
Yeah.
for an event there. So,
Right.
so we're trying to reiterate it to do the same thing, or
At one time, this facility was the banquet hall in conjunction with the Kitchen Express restaurant.
Correct, okay.
That is no longer the case. There are
Oh,
two
okay.
separate property owners who, as Mr. Daniel has described, are this way.
okay,
And so this facility that's before you is proposed to be a standalone operating on its own facility. And that meets our definition as an event center. If it were continuing as the banquet hall to serve the adjacent restaurant, we would not be here. But that's not the case.
okay. Now I understand better.
Yes,
Thank you.
But along that line, is the are the hours that you're proposing in this application, for instance, the same as you had before, under when it was the banquet hall under the other guy?
Could you reiterate the hours again, please?
Actually, it's going to be less because it's not a everyday. When they said 8 to 5, it's not a everyday.
Well, 1 o'clock in the morning?
No. Typically, maybe 10 o'clock because people are paying by the hour.
There's a difference between 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock.
Well, what we're saying is if we have to amend those hours, then that's what we'll have to do. I mean, we don't have to stay
Maybe
till
that should
12.
have been done before you made the application.
Well, hindsight.
So the way I'm hearing this is that the use is essentially the same,
Yes.
but the definition is being redefined because these are going to be two standalone operations.
Correct.
However, is there a change in the usable hours, if you will? Is that a change that's being requested?
The hours on the application is presented to the commission. Any recommendation of the change will have to come from the applicant, and request for a modification of that. That is not something that staff will request or requested by the commission. You will either hear what the application is and the hours as presented in the application, or the applicant can request to modify those hours, and that is a minor enough modification that would be allowed at this time.
And what are those hours?
The hours on the application as it currently stands is they extend to midnight, Monday to Thursday, and then 1 o'clock in the morning, through the rest of the week, through Sunday to 1 o'clock in the morning.
When would that modification be made, if at all?
The applicant can certainly
Now?
amend the application while they're up there.
Now?
Yeah.
Is this something you would do now?
Sure. There's other.
So, and that was the question I had. What are the hours that are being requested? So the hours that are in the application tonight, are they different from the allowable hours prior to this request?
I can't answer that. I don't know what their hours were.
You mean when
before.
it was Kitchen
That's
Express?
correct. Right.
Actually, these hours, they're different. They're shorter than what Kitchen Express would have been.
Okay, so let me ask the question a little different way. When it was Kitchen Express, would there be an event going up to the latest hour available, which looks like 1 a.m. on certain
Yes.
days? Okay, so there's no change in that type?
Correct.
Okay.
One question to staff, in the city ordinance for that area, I hope I'm asking this correctly, what is the allowable hours for businesses? Because there's other businesses like event clubs or whatever that's still open pretty late over there. What is the allowable hours?
Yes, ma'am, you are correct. There's nothing in the general zoning ordinance that addresses the hours of operation of businesses.
Okay, because there's other areas over there.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioners,
I got a question.
sure.
Am I in line?
Barry?
Okay. For staff, is this a code enforcement issue or a question that come up voluntarily? The applicant had a separate property and then they're asking for this.
No, it was not a code enforcement issue. It was a business license application that was flagged.
It was triggered by
because
that.
of the use.
And it's still in probate. I have a hard time with an applicant who's not finished through probate, putting city and public resources, challenging them, potentially because that property could be dispersed differently after probate, and we're wasting our time. I really have a hard time with that. That's all I want to say.
Any other comments or questions? I'd entertain a motion.
Chairman, I move for approval of item, let's see, which item are we on? Z 9352, including all staff comments and conditions except for recommendation of denial.
I second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? I need to recuse. Do it.
What is Bill doing? I counted 3 ayes, 6 noes, 1 recusing, and 1 absent. The application fails.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Item 1. Item 1, the apartments on Chenal. Staff would read the application.
Item number 1, Hampton Astoria Apartments Site Plan Review, File ZS 1836. The applicant is proposing a multifamily development at a density of 12 units per acre. The property is zoned MF12, which allows 12 units per acre. The development will consist of 9 three-story apartment buildings for a total of 252 units, a 1-story clubhouse, swimming pool, and playground. There are to be 6 30-unit buildings and 3 24-unit buildings. Maximum building height of 35 feet is proposed. A total of 378 parking spaces are proposed. Staff is supportive of the proposed development. The property is zoned MF12, which allows for multifamily development at a density not to exceed 12 units per acre. The site contains 21.3 acres, and 252 units are proposed, resulting in a density of 11.8 units per acre. As we've been going through our review of this process, the applicant has submitted a traffic study as requested by Public Works staff. The applicant submitted the requested traffic study and also made some minor revisions to the site plan in response to the review by the Chenal Architectural Review Committee. If there are any additional changes beyond what staff has authority to approve, this item may have to return to the Planning Commission. The project is now proposed as a two-phase development. Buildings 1, 2, 3, and 4, the clubhouse and associated parking will be phase 1. That's the front portion of the property. Buildings 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the remainder of the parking will be in phase 2. A minor side yard setback variance is requested for a corner of Building 4, which has a side yard setback of 25 feet. That's on the west end of the property. Due to the height of the building, a side yard setback of 35 feet is actually required. A variance is requested to allow for advanced grading of the site with construction of the phase 1 portion of the development. Also noted on the site plan is a dog park area at the southwest corner of the development. I mentioned the traffic study. We have the additional comments from Public Works related to their analysis of the traffic study. There have been complaints received from the public pertaining to the safety of the Chenal Parkway, Chenal Valley Drive North intersection. A traffic study was submitted to staff as part of this application. The study shows at the intersection the AM peak hour signal warrant was satisfied prior to the construction of the proposed apartments. The study also shows other volume-based signal warrants will be satisfied at that same intersection following full construction of the apartments. Bottom line is the intersection meets the criteria for a traffic signal today. It will meet the criteria for a traffic signal tomorrow. Based on the multi-building site plan review criteria and the location of the property in relation to the intersection, staff does not have the authority to require construction by the applicant of a signal at the intersection. Again, this is a site plan review. The property itself is currently zoned multifamily. It's not a change requested in zoning or density beyond what is currently there. Staff recommends approval of the application subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F and the staff analysis in the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of a side yard setback variance for that corner intrusion on Building 4. Staff recommends approval of the advanced grading request to allow grading of the entire site with construction of phase 1. And staff recommends approval of a variance to allow a retaining wall that exceeds 200 feet in length to be constructed in a straight line without a 10-foot curved section or jog.
Okay, would the applicant like to address? I have 3 cards in opposition. Okay. I'm not too good at reading, but I know it's Tom who lives at 37 Germay.
Thank you for giving me a chance. My name is Tom Paulus, and I live in Germay, which will be kind of quartered across the street. What I'd like to speak to right now is their request for a variance to grade the entire area, even though they're only going to build on part of it. What that's going to do, if you've not been by there, this is not just a wooded area, it's the side of a hill. So there's quite a bit of dirt work that's going to have to be done. They're going to have to excavate the entire side of the hill. If they only build on part of it, then you're going to have this large area of dirt that's just going to be sitting there, and it's going to be very unsightly. You know, I think all the development out there has gone out of its way to try to make the area look nice and to make it be presentable. Well, this is not going to be presentable. My wife and I live in Germay. We built the first house there. We found out when we built it that we had to submit our plans for our house to the architectural committee of Chenal Properties, which was fine. We did. The one thing that they denied was our mailbox. It wasn't the mailbox itself. Our mailbox has a brick pedestal, and then it's wrought iron, and then you have the box on top of it. They just objected to the height of the brick part. They said you can do it if you'll bring the brick part down a little bit and put the other up. I thought that was a little nitpicking at the time. I still think it is, but that's okay. But as I got to thinking about it, I got to thinking, I'm really glad that there's somebody there that's got the authority to keep someone from building some monstrosity across the street from my house. And so I think in the long run, I think it's a very good thing. Well, when I look at the difference their change in my mailbox made compared to, you know, acres and acres of bare land that's going to sit there for who knows how long before the developer comes in and builds the rest of the apartments. I think it's going to be very unsightly, and I think it's going to detract from the value of all of us that live in the neighborhoods. And I would be most appreciative if you would deny that variance, please.
Joseph Luzzi?
I'm Joe Luzzi, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I've lived out there for 13 years, and it's been a wonderful thing. Some of the stories we heard this evening were really tough, okay? This isn't that kind of a story, but it's still something to definitely consider, okay? That's a very peaceful area. We're off to the left in Germay. When you come in that first gate, you make a right, and we're the second house there, right there. Down one more. That's our home, okay? Our grandchildren and my children run through there. We run, we walk. It's such a peaceful community, and I know progress has to go on, okay? I understand all that, but we don't want that happening. I've watched apartments, and so have you gentlemen and ladies, watched apartments go up. The construction is a beast, and like he said right there, you know, you're talking some time and effort to put that kind of a facility in. And we walk, we run, Bear Den Mountain, that's such a beautiful thing there. And yes, it's going to affect the quality of our subdivision to a degree, even if they are high quality economics put in there, even if they are, okay? But you know what I worry about? I worry more about, this is silly, but my cats, okay? Because there's going to be a lot more traffic. But my kids, my grandchildren, they're right, and the adults walking that area, it's such a beautiful area. And it's heartbreaking to see that come in there. Now, I'm all for those kind of things. There's a lot of older people that need those quality apartments, okay? They need them. They're good. But I just don't know if we can't get together and find a better place. Find a better place. That is not a good place. So I plead with you all to consider that, okay? This is a mild thing, like I said, but it may not be mild. If one of our children get run over by all the vehicles and all the trucks, it's scaring us, okay? But we don't want to leave that area. We love it. So, folks, we respect your decision, no matter which way it'll go, and we thank you for at least hearing us out. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. And Pat, would you care to speak?
Thank you for listening. I'm his other half. We won't decide if it's better or worse, but the other half. We have worked long and hard to build a house in Chenal. We love our house. It's a fabulous house. It's a wonderful community. The people who were here from College Station, you could feel the love they have for their community. And it may be a different type of community, but we love our community. And it's mainly residential. We have a retirement or assisted living facility on the corner. We have a church across the street. But to put in a 252-unit apartment building in a strictly residential area with all the covenants that you can't have the mailbox over there and you can't have this kind of plant on this corner, then to allow this 250-unit apartment complex to come in is sort of mind-boggling. And I heard the people from College Station saying they had no notice. The only notice we had was when we read it in the paper. I mean, we had no notice of anything going in there. And then to hear that this behemoth is going in across the street from us was just like, OMG. Now, we built our house there 13 years ago, and they told us at that time, that corner was dangerous because there's very little visibility on Chenal Parkway and Chenal Valley Drive. And the cars are coming up the hill, and you can't see them until they crest the hill, and the others are coming around the corner, and you can't see them until they're on the straightaway. So, with the people who live there now, that corner is already problematic. You put another 252 apartments. Think of all the cars that are going to be in those apartments on that same dangerous intersection, and you have trouble right here in River City. No. But anyway, I think it would be detrimental to the Chenal community to have that large of a apartment complex there, and to know that they're doing it in phases. So they're going to just tear down all the trees, blow out the rocks, and then leave it for who knows how long, is even more crushing. So we would ask that you deny this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant?
Hi, I'm Dr. Ramsey. I'm the developer and the builder and the owner. This is Jess Griffin, my engineer. This is my third development in Little Rock. It's going to be a very high-end development. I have already built 2 other very high-end developments in West Little Rock, the ranch. This is going to continue that process. We are coming in less than what the zoning is allowing, the MF12 zoning is allowing, basically. We're going to fit in the box. The buildings are going to be beautiful. Middle class to upper middle class people are going to live there. Elderly people are going to live there. Some young people are going to live there. It's going to be a professional place. There is only one variance we're asking for, is the wall. The purpose of the wall is simple, to make it safer and a better place to build and live. Our plan is to break ground and go ahead and finish phase 1, and as soon as that's economically viable, go ahead and proceed with phase 2. I'm an animal lover. I have 4 dogs and 2 cats in my house. That's why I insisted on the animal dog park over there, as I have in my other development. I have a family. I have very close friends and patients who live right across the street in Germain and across in other places. I intend to make sure that the sanctity and the safety of everybody is there. The traffic count will not significantly increase. What's going to happen at the corner of Chenal and Chenal Valley, the traffic study says that. Our traffic engineer has recommended to the city how they can help mitigate that if they choose to do that. We are going to have a very high-end development. We are staying within the MF12 zoning. We're staying within the box. The only variance we're asking for is the wall, the length of the wall, which will make it safer and better to build and live there. Mr. Jess Griffin will now give you the technical details.
I thought we were going to go first. We were first on the agenda, but I guess not. First man was talking about the grading, and we're asking for the advanced grading. And he was talking about the safety, the trucks. I think the safest thing is to do all the grading in one phase, get it done with, and be done with that. There's to prevent any additional noise or traffic or any concerns they have. If we're there doing the first phase, then we come back and do all the grading for the second phase, it's going to be worse on them. So I think that's going to be a better scenario to do it advanced. And the way that we're going up the hill, you're going to have to grade a little bit into the second phases just to build the first phase, because you've got to build walls to keep the dirt from coming downhill on you. We worked very close with the staff of City of Little Rock. They've given us several comments, and we tried to address and do everything we could to follow every rule and every comment and make everyone satisfied. We've also worked with Chenal Architectural Committee. We did not get their comments till after we had our development review, and That's why we had the slight modification of the site plan from when y'all saw it the first time. But all the changes we made were to address all the comments of Chenal Architectural Committee. And like he said, if he had a mailbox that was too tall, well, we're working very hard to meet Chenal Architectural Committee and City of Little Rock staff comments. And we put a lot of time and effort into this, and we just ask that you pass this. We're going to do top-notch landscaping and try to adapt to the surroundings. We're going to add some natural trails. There's a very large portion of the site that actually isn't shown on this plan. And you can see where there's a little line there above the development. That's the natural trails. That way the people living there will have a natural trail to walk on and kind of adapt to the Chenal Mountain feeling. The one building that he's talking about, Building 4, that's 25-foot buffer, we actually moved that building to try to address a comment of Chenal Architectural Committee. So we've got two different committees, so we're trying to appease both people. There is only 25 foot there, but immediately adjacent to the property line, there is a power line and a power line easement, and it's not a small power line. And so that adds an additional probably 20-foot buffer. I bet it's a 20-foot easement. So there's actually in reality a 45 to 50-foot easement or buffer between there. I don't believe anybody will develop actually on that side of the property. It's owned by Chenal Mountain, and I don't see any development happening on our west side. One man said that they were not notified. We have sent out the 200-foot adjacent property owners notifications, and that included all the whole neighborhood association of Germay, the other couple neighborhoods there, and all the other adjacent property owners. So they have been notified, or their associations have been notified. The retaining wall variance that we're asking for, it will be behind the second tier of buildings. So the main thing about that variance that the staff has told me is the appearance of a wall being that long. Well, you won't see the wall because it will be behind both two tiers of buildings. So the appearance won't be there. And also, the Chenal Architectural Committee asked us to add another feet there so we could have trees in between the building and the wall there on that second level. So we have provided more space to provide more landscaping to soften those walls up and make the look even better. It will be a gated community, so increase the safety of the area. There were complaints that there was traffic problems. My client has helped the problem because he provided the city with a recent traffic study, so they have the knowledge of what they need to do and how they should act on that intersection. And so that was several $1,000s just to get that traffic study done. So we have plenty of amenities. We have the dog park. We're providing natural trails to the north of the site. We're providing a pool. We have a workout facility. So we're providing amenities for the people that live there. And one thing he said, that their children and their parents, well, this will be a place where their children can live or their parents can live right next to where they live. This will be a place that they could afford and that they could live next to their family. And so, and the other thing is, this has always been MF12. It never has changed. Chenal, Deltic Timber, they planned out the entire neighborhood. Every bit of this has been planned out from the start. And so when all these properties were developed, it's always been there on the master plan. So they know that there's apartments that we're going to come there because it's zoned MF12. I think that's all we have to say. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah. I just want to say that I do high-end development. This will be a high-end development. As a commercial developer, I will make every effort to make sure that it's done quick, fast, and looks very nice and in a very professional manner. I have architects and engineers and contractors, and I follow their advice, and whatever is their advice and whatever is legal and whatever is required is how we proceed. And that's why we've satisfied the staff here. We're in the process of satisfying the architectural committee of Chenal, and we will do everything the right way. That's what I believe. Do the right thing and do it the right way.
Thank you. I have one quick question. It's my old age and my hearing, which is not what it used to be. You said something about the stoplight and mitigating the traffic.
The traffic.
Did I hear more than you said?
No, the traffic engineer recommended how to mitigate some of the problems that people have complained about. So the recommendations, the whole study, including the recommendations, were passed to the city. We don't have the right to do anything one way or the other. It's up to the city how they address that after that.
So you're.
Basically, the problem are the left turners there turning on to Chenal Valley Parkway. And one suggestion we made was provide some striping in the median there to try to help guide people to where they don't have to stay right there and look across 4 lanes of the boulevard.
But I thought I heard him say he was going to help mitigate by helping pay for a stoplight or something.
No.
Did I not hear that?
We're giving suggestions.
Yes or no? Did I hear that?
No, the answer is no.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ramon?
Excuse me. How many phases is this planned to be?
Two, but
Two
they're
phases.
going to be contiguous.
Okay. So this goes to the grading question, which I understand one of the neighbors were mentioning. The intent is to grade the entire area immediately, and then once one of the buildings makes it financially viable to move on to the next phase, you would build.
Answer the.
The intent is just to, if you look behind the second set of buildings, there are a retaining wall there, and that's in the second phase. So we need to build that retaining wall and have all that. We don't have to do everything above that where the parking lot is on the second level. We just need to get and level out all the buildings on the second tier and build that retaining wall right there behind those buildings. And so essentially it's in the second phase.
I guess
because of trying to.
The crux of my question is really, this is in 2 phases, but neither of the phases are subject to any sort of contingency. They're both going to happen. Right. So the grading, for example, there wouldn't be a situation where financial viability of first phase is not achieved, and therefore you don't build the second phase, and you're just left with this big graded piece of
Everything
land.
is in God's hand, but we don't anticipate that today, based on our studies and what the banks have told us and everything. But I can't predict what tomorrow brings.
So I guess the answer is maybe.
No, the answer is our plan is to proceed with the entire project.
Okay.
Commissioner Berry?
Hey, Mr. Chair, a couple quick questions for staff. The MF12 property was zoned at the beginning of the master plan before these neighborhoods developed. Is that correct? What year was that, maybe ballpark, or is that
mid-'80s?
Mid-'80s.
When the Chenal plan was adopted for the 4,000 or 5,000 acre.
Okay, so mid-'80s. It's zoned MF12. Could you, for the benefit for those who aren't familiar with the land alteration ordinance, the reason they have to request advanced grading and the pros and cons of advanced grading, which the engineer mentioned, but I think it'd be good to clarify that again.
Mr. Perry, if it's okay with you, I'm going to ask Mr. Hood to come answer those questions.
Yeah.
The pros and cons of advanced grading. Certainly you see a lot of variance requests for advanced grading, and that is because too often in the past, people would go clear a very large site, walk off, leave it in speculative development. And the authority to regulate that was placed with the Planning Commission very specifically. They look at the site plans, they look at the subdivision reviews, they look at what might be appropriate to grant this variance to grade everything. Now, a lot of times what happens by granting a variance to do everything all at once on a multi-phase development is you're limited ridiculous situations where you might haul dirt off in phase one and haul it right back in phase two. There's some economy of scale, and certainly if they do it tastefully, control the erosion and leave it in a manner that it's ready for future development, but the erosion's controlled and everything looks reasonable, it's a better deal for everybody around.
You happy? Question? Anybody else? I'd entertain a motion.
Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, please. I'm sorry, Commissioner Hamilton.
Yeah.
We would like separate votes on this item. The application as a whole would be one vote. We would like a separate vote on the advanced grading request and on the variance for the retaining wall.
That's 3 votes.
3 votes, please.
Okay. Do the variance and the retaining wall first.
okay. I move for approval of the item S 1836 variance for the retaining wall.
I don't get what order they do them in.
Is that okay?
It doesn't matter what order you
No,
want to do
okay.
them in.
Yeah, retaining wall, including all staff comments and conditions.
Okay, there's a motion there, a second? I second. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. If you do the
Good.
advanced grading.
Yeah. Okay. Chairman, I move for the approval of item S 1836, advanced grading request, including all staff comments and conditions.
Got it, is there a second? It's seconded. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. I've got to learn that. Those opposed, raise your hand. The main motion.
Okay. And I move for approval of item S 1836, including all staff comments and conditions.
Is there a second to that? Second. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. Last item. 1838, where's that? Across the street from them. Okay, it's item 3, around Leander Drive, S 1838.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, item number 3 is file number S 1838. The Ridge at Little Rock preliminary plat and site plan review located at the southeast corner of Calden Drive and Leander Drive. The property consists of a total of 7.75 acres. The property is zoned MF18 multifamily, which allows for development of multifamily at a density not to exceed 18 units per acre. The applicant is requesting approval of a 2-lot preliminary plat and site plan review to allow for construction of a 4-building, I have 9 units, that's not right, yeah, multifamily development. Lot 1 is proposed to contain 3.43 acres and will be developed with 2 3-story buildings containing 24 units per building, as well as a clubhouse and management building. Lot 2 is proposed for an additional 2 3-story buildings containing 24 units per building. A total of 195 parking spaces are proposed, exceeding the ordinance requirement of 1.5 spaces per unit. The project is proposed to be developed in 2 phases corresponding with the lot numbers, Lot 1 being the first phase and Lot 2 the following phase. The density proposed for Lot 1 is 13.99 units per acre. Lot 2 is proposed at a density, I didn't put that in here, but less than, there it is, 11.11 units per acre. The subdivision multiple building site plan process established in the subdivision ordinance is a development review process to provide for case-by-case consideration of project particulars, to review provisions of parking, landscaping, building locations, all of this to determine compliance with the appropriate ordinances. In each of the proposed phases, the 48 units are broken down as 16 one-bedroom units, 8 two-bedroom, 8 three-bedroom, and 16 four-bedroom. A variance is requested to allow for advanced grading of Lot 2 in conjunction with construction of Phase 1. Staff does support that variance request. At the time the agenda went out, there was only one outstanding issue, and that actually had to do with Leander Drive, located on the east side of the project. It was determined that a portion of Leander Drive had previously been abandoned as public right-of-way. Staff's been working, staffs of Public Works Department, Planning, and the City Attorney's Office have been working with the applicant to try to address this issue specifically because the applicant was showing the fire access drive to come out at the point where Leander Drive had been abandoned as right-of-way. We're going to continue to work through that issue simply as a policy and public safety issue. We need to address getting that question of Leander Drive back as public right-of-way addressed. In the case of the project that's before you, we worked up through this afternoon to address the issue, and we are able now to recommend approval of the application subject to compliance with the following conditions. The first being compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F and the staff analysis in the agenda staff report, and compliance with these additional following conditions from Public Works, Planning, and City Attorney's agreement. Public Works recommends approval of the application with the relocation of the emergency fire access to the public right-of-way portion of Leander Drive. And that's reflected on the plan that's before you on the screen now. The portion of Leander Drive adjacent to the West End subdivision was vacated by ordinance in 1965. Right-of-way should be dedicated to Leander Drive with the platting of the subdivision to 30 feet from center line of Leander Drive within the public right-of-way along the frontage of the subject property. The right-of-way should be dedicated to Leander Drive with the platting of the subdivision to 30 feet from center line on the private portion of Leander Drive along the frontage of this subject property. And boundary street improvements will be constructed adjacent to the subject property to master street plan standards to that portion of Leander Drive within the public right-of-way with construction of Phase 1. Staff does recommend approval of a variance to allow the advanced grading of Lot 2 with construction of Phase 1. We recommend approval of a variance to not have to construct sidewalks on the east side of Calden, which is a private drive to the west. And staff does recommend approval of a variance to allow the reduced setback for the buildings from the common interior lot line between proposed lots 1 and 2.
Thank you. I have two cards in opposition. It's the applicant's option to speak or wait.
I am Brian Dale with White Daters and Associates. We also have the applicant owner Keith Richardson here. Would like to say good evening, and you've got one heck of a first meeting to start off with. But we would like to reserve the rest of our time to hear that.
Very well. Tom Humphreys.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. The neighborhood that I represent today has 27 houses in it, and I represent 26 of those. One asked that I not talk for that particular household. So I am the spokesperson through the Leander Neighborhood Association for 26 of the 27. I'm actually not opposed to this. Our neighbors are not opposed to it. We have three major concerns that we feel like need to be addressed in some way. I don't think it's the right of the developer to have to do this, but this is the place where we thought we needed to bring these up so that if there were some things that the Planning Commission could do to help us, that they would be brought up. The first one is the traffic bottleneck. if you look at the site with the buildings on it, you'll notice that the entrance and exit to the apartment complex is at the top north side, and it's very close in proximity to the intersection of what used to be Calden but is now called Parham Point and Leander. Currently, that is a three-way stop sign. We are concerned on two major conditions. First, in the wintertime, when that road freezes, we end up having numerous cars that are stuck there and basically keep us from being able to get in and out. The reason for that is because as they go up the hill towards Calden or Parham Point, they have to stop. Once they stop, they lose all their traction. With the addition of the new apartment complex, we're talking about adding another 200 vehicles, 225 vehicles when it's completely full, going out onto that and causing what we think is going to be a major traffic jam there. We originally entertained an idea of the developer moving the entrance to a different place, but after looking at it, realized that the way the buildings are set up, they're set up there because of the setbacks that are required. So I wonder if it would be possible to take and make the intersection of Calden and Leander basically a one-way stop. The cars coming down from Calden would stop, and the cars on Leander would not have to stop, and that way anybody coming out of the apartment complex fairly close to that intersection would not have to stop for that stop sign, which would bottleneck that area up. So that's the first concern. The second concern is drainage. Again, I don't think this is tied to the developer, but with the new development, there's going to be more drainage coming out of that area. Right now, we basically flood the roadway where Leander comes down and makes a sharp left-hand turn. That technically is 16th Street. And then a block down, it makes a sharp right-hand turn, which then again becomes Leander. In that area, between, if you look at the map where it's showing the site, there's the two 90-degree curves there. Thank you very much. At that far right hand, there is a single culvert that goes underneath that road. It's a 15-inch in diameter culvert, and I've done some calculations to show that basically it doesn't handle the runoff that will come off of the site, the apartment site, and the land bordering 16th Street. Our concern is that with the new complex, there's going to be more runoff water, and therefore we're going to have more flooding in that area, and that becomes a safety issue. The third major concern that we have is Leander is, the Leander Neighborhood Association is basically a neighborhood in the country in the middle of the city. We have trees all over. We're bordered on the south end by Boyle Park. We hope, we petition, we ask that as much natural buffer zone on the south side of the unit can either remain with the natural trees and the natural landscape that's there, or that something in the proposed complex, that new landscape is put in that will make a curtain more or less between the complex and the neighborhood to the south of it. I thank you very much for listening. I have sent copies of the minutes of the Neighborhood Association having the same concerns. I think everybody has probably received it. I also, when this was first put out and the zoning sheet was nailed to the tree, I sent a letter to Dana, again, with these same concerns. They're very, very, very solid concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gina Hartzell? Did I say that right?
Yes, sir. My name is Gina Hartzell, and I live at 1623 Leander Drive. And my property on the topography map is at the lowest point on Leander Drive. And when Parham Point was built, I developed a huge drainage issue. I have a swimming pool on part of my property in a field, and the runoff always hits my pool and then always hits the backfield of my property. And so I'm constantly dealing with issues from the drainage from Parham Point. So I don't see why this is going to be any different for me. I had 2 engineers at the house on Monday. I'm waiting for their report. They'll be back out again on, I think they said next Monday. So I'll have an engineering report on the problem that it's going to cause on my property being the lowest point. I agree with everything that Tom said. I'd like to see a natural barrier of trees that protects us from the apartment complex. I'd also like to see if the developer would consider dumping his traffic of 100 plus to 200 more cars. I'd like to see that if the developer could figure out a way to divert that traffic onto Calden Drive instead of onto Leander Drive. I don't believe anyone else in my neighborhood has had a head-on collision with a tree by being run off the road before, but I totaled my car when someone ran me off the road. Leander's a narrow thoroughfare, if you can call it that. It was a old logging road at one time that's been paved over, and that's what Leander is. We have no curbs, we have no gutters, we have horrible drainage. It's going to definitely affect my way of life, and I'm sure it will affect the others as well. I'm not opposed to the development. I just want to make sure we're doing it the right way, and we're doing it the responsible way, and that the homeowners in the area are taken into consideration when we're putting, that many cars back on the road. This morning at Canis and Leander Drive, we were 6 cars backed up on Leander Drive, and there were between 15 and 18 cars coming down Canis Road. That's right where Canis goes from a 2-lane to a 4-lane. And we were backed up. I sat there for, 10 minutes this morning waiting on traffic to clear so we could get out. So that's a major issue for me. And I appreciate you hearing me out, and thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
I think they all have good questions and issues, and I think that we can help with a lot of them. Mr. Humphreys, his first issue was the bottleneck at Leander and Calden. I think it's a 3-way stop. It'll take some working with the public works staff, but we're fine making that a 1-way stop, or any other options that we can do to help with the situation there. We have no opposition, and we can work with staff on that. The second was the drainage, and I think both of them have brought that up, as well as the staff has brought that up to us. I know all of you are aware that we have to do the stormwater detention ordinance. In working with the staff, though, they have been aware of the downstream issues and asked if we would go up and above the stormwater detention ordinance, if we would either choke our release flow down so that the 15-inch culvert can handle it, or if we would go downstream and work on improving those culverts to a size that could adequate it. Right now, we are leaning towards handling everything on our site and making our release pipe smaller than that so that we can help alleviate some of the drainage problems down there. I think the third one was a buffer to the south. Since we are the denser use of MF and the uses to the south are residential, by ordinance we're required to leave a buffer there. I think by code we have to have a 50-foot buffer, but 70% of it has to remain natural. We're going to do that, but I also think that we can possibly do some more. When we get into the grading issues, we'll look at it, and we're only going to grade what we need for this project. There's no reason to go clear the whole thing. We only are going to clear and grade what we need to make the project work. There was another question asked if we could come out on Calden Avenue, and I think there's probably 2 issues that prevent us from doing that. One is Calden Avenue is private. It's not a public right-of-way anymore. It was closed years ago. Is that correct, Vince? It was closed years ago, and it's private, so we can't take access to it. But 2, even if we could, it's at a much higher elevation, and we need to come out at roughly the middle of the site because we're cutting on the high side and filling on the low side. So we need to come out in the middle of roughly Leander Drive. That's all I have. If there's any other questions from the others or commissioners will be glad to answer them, and we have the owner here to answer anything that you may have for him.
Commissioners?
How wide will Leander be expanded to?
We have to do, we're having to do our half-street improvements to bring it to a collector street, and staff is supportive of a reduced collector, which would be 31 feet when it's completed, but we're responsible for 15 and a half feet on our side of it. And right now, it is a very narrow trail.
It's like she said, Logan Road. I drove it today, and it was, I didn't know where another car would go if it came uphill when I was going down. It was that tight. Good point.
So your 15 and a half feet from the center line is going to go onto your property then? So you'll grade all that down, and will there be drainage underneath the street with?
Brian, repeat the question, so in
I'm sorry. So your 15 and a half feet that you're going to improve is going to be from the center line of Leander into your property? It's going to take away that portion of your property? Is there going to be culverts and drainage underneath that is going to go to the retention pond and drain into that, which I love the idea of putting a smaller pipe in there to choke that down, which means the retention pond then will gather more water, but it will go out at a slower rate, which then puts it through the ditch and the culvert at a much slower rate than what's going on now?
You are correct, that we will have, the drainage won't be underneath the street, it'll be right behind the street at the back of the curb, but we will pipe all that down, and it'll be collected at the detention facility at a slower rate. So the pond, it'll be a dry detention facility, but in a rain event, it'll hold water until it slowly releases out and becomes dry again.
Okay. And one other question can I ask another question?
if it's really quick.
Landscaping along Leander where you're doing the improvements, do you have an idea of what you're going to be? Is there going to be a fence or tree row?
Excuse me, if I may interject, you need to speak to the mic if you ask it, and anything you ask needs to be asked of the commission, please. Okay. And then we'll get it addressed accordingly. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I always used to looking at people when
That's
I
okay.
talk to them.
We understand.
It's not a concern, it's a question. Landscaping along Leander where the improvements are going to be made, is there going to be some sort of a fence or a barrier there that looks nice?
There is not any proposed fencing with this development except around the dumpster enclosures, which I believe is required by ordinance.
Thank you. Any other questions, Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, though, in all fairness, in response to Mr. Humphrey's question, the applicant will be responsible for complying with the city's landscape ordinance, which does require the planting of trees and shrubbery on the site. So there will be landscaping along that street perimeter. And hopefully they'll be able to save some of the plantings, but if not, they will be
We've had discussion.
landscaping.
Is there a motion on the project?
Just one. Well, I mean, it is my neighborhood.
I'm in a good mood, come on.
Well, I'm glad, because I'm not. I'm wondering how much of the proposed development is going to be HUD housing?
What?
How much of it's going to be HUD housing, public housing? I'd like to know how much money they're getting for HUD housing, what they expect the ratio.
Chairman,
I'd like to know.
that is a question that we cannot address in this manner.
Great. Now, I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, if we may, again, we would like 2 votes on this item. We need 1 vote on the project application, which is the plat and site plan review, and then a second vote on the land alteration variance to allow the advanced grading.
All right. Chairman, I move for the approval of item file number S1838, the project in total, including all staff comments and conditions.
You heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. All in favor, raise your hand. Oh, is there a second?
Yes, second.
Now, all in favor, raise your hand. It's getting late. All those opposed? Okay, a motion on the variance.
Got it. Chairman, I move for the approval of item file S 1838, land alteration, concluding all staff comments and conditions.
And is there a second? Second. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Thank you. Thank you. Are there any citizen communications? My only one would be there is no informal meeting on February 7th, so take that off your calendars. Thank everybody for coming. We are adjourned.